seen Danaher's solo drill thing? I don't know how old it is, but he basically is talking about the importance of like methodically solo drilling, not just like line drill kind of shit. In fact, he's like, line drills are fucking stupid. He's basically saying that like the problem with line drills as a warm-up is that you're practicing them without intention and visualization. So you're doing a shrimp, but you're not actually thinking about what a shrimp is or what role it might play in a roll.
Yeah.
And so he was like going through all these sort of basic underlying movements and, you know, Danaher, like all the physics behind them and like what you're actually trying to accomplish with the shrimp. Like one thing with he has several kinds of shrimps and
he's got a shrimp cocktail.
The one of the shrimp, there's like this key like pointing your knee down as your hips are up, so that
seems good for your
so that well, it's difficult to describe, but basically like almost bridging up to allow yourself to get the external rotation, and then that will allow you to slide it out through the person's mouth, versus if you try to just bring it straight to you, you're not going to have the space. So it's like turning it down,
so you're creating the space into the bridge and like abducting and externally rotating, then pulling out to give you a little bit of a spot.
Yes, that abduction. But that's like I think it's stuff like in a roll I've probably tried, like my body probably knows to do, but I've never like practiced my shrimps that way where it's like, oh, that's actually what I'm trying to accomplish.
And I mean, Derek, I love you. He's a great guy. I love his jiu-jitsu, but I definitely feel like for me, line drills, and what I noticed for a lot of people that do line drills, it's speed. It's how fast can I get down the line and finish this line drill, instead of how methodically can I do these line drills. And Derek always gives me shit for it, because it's like, you know, fucking slow poke at the end, but it's like,
oh
yeah, well, you know, I like to think about what I'm doing a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obvious a time and space, like time and place, especially like rolling, where it's like, you know, speed and like being a little explosive is like more important. But you got to be able to be slow too, and like break down what you're doing.
It's the dead dude mentality. Yeah. Well, you're also like, you have your own signature ways of doing everything too. Like it's the Ian signature touch.
Bear walks.
But that's good. I mean, like, because it shows you actually thinking about what you're doing, instead of just like, this is a thing, this is a warm-up. It's like, oh, no, this actually might help me in a specific situation.
Yeah.
The other big one he did was like reverse shrimp.
Okay.
It's like pulling yourself towards your feet. So, like, kind of throwing your foot out to the side and using that as a way to change angle and pull yourself. So, like, if you're getting, if someone's got you in side mount, it's a way to, and you're not able to do your normal escapes, it's a way to kind of change angle, get north-south, and then, like, someone like me or you could easily then throw the leg over and start to attack with the legs and use those as ways to push away and then go for triangles or blocks, that kind of thing.
It's one thing I definitely didn't not a lot of good for my back, but when people give me the space in north-south, is like inverting and like almost going to like, and if they're keeping their hips high, like inverting and going into like taking the back.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I could do that. I mean, it's kind of really cool, but I know like my back doesn't like me after I do it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it with a lot of pressure, but yeah, if you have the space, you can do it.
Definitely.
I don't know. Fucking Danner was doing it. He's not the most limber fellow.
He's got some issues with his I don't remember what he's got.
I think one of his knees doesn't fully extend.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, now that I'm kind of like settling into jiu-jitsu, I mean, I've been out of it for a while, but kind of learning that I need to do things more sustainably. Because
everything.
Yeah, I mean,
with the body.
Having variation, like, for the longest time I only played bottom. I always, like, yes. Derek always said that, like, when I was asking Derek, what do you look for, like, you know, and he's like, he always, like, Blue Bow's like, you know, a lot of people give up the bottom, like, they just, like, take the bottom, that's what they want, and it's like, you have to be more in control, like, it's like, instead of just giving up the bottom, like, if you're in, like, dominant position and you just give your, like, go straight to the bottom game, it's like, it's not really the most ideal thing you should be doing. But I don't know, I've been trying to work on the top game. Guard passing, it definitely was my weak spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're preaching to the fucking choir. But the reason that I feel comfortable there is because, like, at the beginning, at my old school, you're just getting fucking run over by everyone. It's like, you just have to be playing defense all the time. And then you have to create offense off your defense. So, but it is like, now that's my comfort zone, so I will just let people push me there instead of, like, working on my weak spots, which is not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I used to love closed guard. That's all I would play is closed guard.
Yeah, dude, because it's like, when you roll with me, you know, if I go to mount, I'm going to turn you to your left and try to take your back.
Take my back or throw in a triangle.
From that side. Like, it's not even just take your back. It's, I'm going to try to turn you to that specific side and then take your back from that angle. Like, but then again, it's also, like, cool to know you have this flow. It's like, if I can get this person in this place, like, I know it's a matter of time.
And I don't think it's like you should ever ditch that. Like, you never should be like, well, you know, like, that's my comfort zone. Like, I should play outside my comfort zone. But it's like, maybe you should explore your outside your comfort zone, but you should always know it's like, maybe you can use, like, find something outside your comfort zone to bring somebody back into your comfort zone.
Yes.
So it's like
different pathways to your comfort zone.
Yeah, different pathway, like, which would be, I mean, that way is like, well, I know, like, if he gets me in mount or if he gets me here, like, you're going to try and turn me to my side, but it's like, if you can get to that, like, a different route, then it's like,
which is easy enough to do when it's someone that's not as skilled as you, because then you know you have room for mistakes and failure. But it's like, when you're actually being challenged, that's when you're like, I just need to stick to my guns, because if I give this guy an inch, I'm fucked. But then
that's ego.
It is ego, because you're actually not getting that much better. You might get a little bit better, but you're not improving as much as you possibly could. Just to win that one little moment.
I mean, you're there to learn, like, rolling, like, we're not competing for anything. I mean, if you're competing, then yeah, maybe you should probably stick a little bit closer to your comfort zone, play your game. But, like, I mean, you go to the academy to learn different things, and I feel like for me the longest time was just staying in the comfort zone. It's like, once I kind of started to play outside that, my game got a lot better, just because it's like, oh, I have these alternate options. And it's like, yeah, I might get caught, but it's just like being able to be like, okay, like, I got caught, I learned from it, let it go. Like, there's no reason to, like, let the ego get in the way and be like, fuck, I can't believe I just got fucking armbarred, or I just got choked. Like, it's like, well, I made the mistake, like, I tried something new. It's like, rinse, wash, repeat until it kind of works. And then when it works, you're like, oh shit, I like this. Yeah.
also, like I know that there are certain holes that I have that don't get, there's certain areas that don't get developed because I don't find myself in those positions often. Like, for whatever reason, in the past 6 months, I haven't gotten my back taken that much. And therefore, I am worried about my back defense because I know it can't be good because I haven't been there. Like, and so it's like kind of this like no-go spot. But
I have one of those.
But it's also like, are you just gonna like let people get theirs and then develop it? I mean, that's what like Hicks and Gracie always talked about. It's just like getting in the worst possible situation and working your way out.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one spot, people can take my back, people can be in mount, but there is something when I'm in somebody's side control where like I just like short circuit, and it's like, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's more like some irrational fear or something, I don't know, but it's just like, I get there and I'm like, I almost like get panic mode.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm just like,
it's claustrophobic feeling.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, we did like, Derek spent some time on it, I want to say last summer, and it's like, I finally was starting to be like, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not freaking out, but I don't really like it here. And I mean, if there's one spot where it's like, at all costs, I will expend any amount of energy. If somebody's past my guard, I'll expend any amount of energy for somebody not to get me inside control, because I just hate it that much.
Yeah. Which is like a good skill to have, not letting someone get there. But I remember that, like, at the beginning for me, there was so, like, that was most of it, was just being in those fucking terrible claustrophobic sweat of the other person's forehead dripping in your eyeballs, like, that was the entire freaking thing. And like, I got way more just like comfortable in that shittiness. But when you're like evenly matched with people, you're not spending as much time in those zones. So then when it happens, it is like a little bit more panicky. It's just like, oh god.
Yeah, I mean, we always go to the 6 a.m. we used to always go to the 6 a.m. classes, and you know, it's like there's a pretty solid crew. And then if I would go to like an evening class or like a Saturday class or like open mat, it's like, wow, I'm rolling with these people like I haven't A, seen in forever, or B, like hardly ever roll with, and it's like, wow, you kind of have to like reestablish, because I feel like when I roll with the same people so much, it's like, okay, I kind of like, there's almost like this game of just like, I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's not as like unique or fun, just because like I know what you're gonna do, you kind of know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be like, who gives who like that 1 inch of space kind of game.
But at the same time, I actually, even though we've rolled together so many times, I actually don't feel that way about like you or like Brian. I never know what's gonna happen. Like there's weirdest positions and situations and scrambles happen.
That is,
which is funny, because it's like I know your game, but yet it does, like, for whatever reason, when our two styles come together, like this weird new stuff happens.
Just like ending up in like these weird like positions where it's like your head is at my feet and my head is at your feet, and we're like, how the hell did we get here?
I would say it was like you, me, and I would put Brian in that category too. Like, I feel like all of us thrive there, and the weird shit is just like making shit up, like versus like actual techniques. So I think that's probably why it's just like we're not fighting for position really. It's more just like trying to create stuff out of strangeness.
Yeah, improvising.
Which to me is the most fun thing about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
The Juge.
mean, one guy that I've been getting there a lot with and getting like strange funky positions, and he's gotten so good so freaking quick, is Anthony, the young wrestling kid.
Oh yeah, he's a motherfucker,
dude. I remember the first time I rolled with him, and he was like a 1-stripe, 2-stripe white belt, and it was like, you know, you get this like, not like, I wouldn't say like cockiness, but it's just like, okay, like I'm gonna like lighten up on this guy a little bit just to see what happens. And then I remember him just like twisting me up, and I was like, oh shit, this kid knows what's up. Look, he got so good so quick, and he's like one of those guys where it's like, our rolls get really, I wouldn't say like intense, but they are high energy sometimes, and they get unique and different really quick sometimes.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. So, I was curious, like, now that it's been a few, 2, 3, maybe 4-ish months since you were in your Costa Rica trip, I was curious, like, what things have you carried with you? Because obviously it's like, it seemed like a very powerful experience, and in the moment it probably shifted a lot of things mentally, physically for you, but then you go back to your normal life, your normal people who expect you to be the same. So now that it's been a couple months, what things have like stuck with you and have been impactful, and like do you carry with you?
I gotta say, like, yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the most life-changing weeks of my life. And thank you, Nick and Christina, for accepting me on that trip and bringing me in as an outsider, because, I mean, they didn't know anything about me. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a little essay saying, I would really like to go, please. And, you know, I think you were with me when I got accepted. It was like, we were skiing, and I think it was like New Year's Eve, and I like checked my email, and I was like, I saw the letter, or I saw the email, and I was got that like, I don't know, that feeling where it's like you see it and you're just like, you're afraid to open it, but you want to open it at the same time, and you're like, you were just like, dude, just open it, like nothing's gonna change, like whether you gotta, like whether you're going or not, like the decision has been made. And I just remember,
what is it, Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah. And I just see like these saying, we would love for you to come, and I was like totally bugging out, was like super psyched on it. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was establishing a routine, and just being more mindful of my technology use. Like, I wouldn't say I'm a very active person on like social media, but I think the purpose I carried, or purpose, how I used it was not aligned with what I really should be using it for, and just kind of using it more as a tool instead of as like a weapon. And yeah, just kind of establishing like at least a morning routine, but at the same time not being so stuck that you like, if you don't do a certain thing of your morning routine, that it's not going to throw off your whole day. Because it's like, if you get too fixated on things, it's like, then that could almost like ruin your day.
Yes, I haven't had my cold shower, so the day is fucked. Like,
yeah,
I am a failure. I can't fucking do anything. Yes. Yeah, then it just becomes another like crutch, because you don't want it to be. It's just like a bonus. It should be a bonus.
It's always just a bonus if you get it in. I mean, I try to make room for it every day, but if certain things don't get done, then I don't dwell on it.
If you only get to do one thing in that routine, is there like a most critical, or not critical, because that makes it sound like it needs to happen, but thing that benefits you the most?
I would say the morning movement. Like, I mean, I'm probably gonna have. I mean, I just took a little hiatus from coffee and caffeine, but I mean, I love my coffee, love my caffeine. I'll probably get it in at some point in the morning, but the movement, like, kind of really sets the tone for the day. Like, just kind of get the blood moving, get the body moving, like, loosen everything up, and kind of puts me in such a good mindset, and, like, just kind of makes me, like, more at peace with myself. I mean, what's that saying? It's like, if you're in a bad mood, go on a walk. If you're still in a bad mood, go on another walk.
I've never heard that, but I really like that.
But I like that. That's been my, like, go-to, is, like, making sure. I mean, fishing in the mornings lately has definitely thrown a little wrench.
But it's such a
but,
peaceful way to start the day, too.
I mean, just getting some fishing in the morning is awesome. But I think we may have talked before, is, like, there's definitely these, like, life-changing experiences that we've had that totally change your perspective on life and on people and, like, what we are. And I want to say, like, the sweat lodge was, as of right now, the sweat lodge that we did down there was the most, like, intense thing of my life, and it, like, changed my perspective on life like, permanently. And, you know, you're in there and it's like, it is hot as shit. Like, think of any sauna you've ever been in and, like, multiply the heat by, like, 10. I mean, not literally, but that's what it feels like. And for me, going into, like, this essentially pitch black tiny hole with a bunch of other people and, like, rocks that might as well be molten, like, was pretty intense for me, because, like, I'm pretty claustrophobic when it comes to that stuff. And then, like, when there's no light and I just know that there's this, like, the vibe of it is just very, like, intense, it kind of works you up, and it kind of instilled some fear in me. And I just remember I was sitting next to my good friend Felix, and I was pretty far from the door, and I was like, I definitely let, like, fear take a hold, and I was like, I ended up having to, like, sit closer to the door just so I could see that little, like, sliver of, like, light that was peeking through. And my buddy Clayton, like, definitely helped me through that, like, held my hand while I kind of just, like, face down in the dirt and cried. So it was, like, at the point where I was so hot, I had so much fear that I was just, like, kind of, like, brought me to my breaking point, and just, like, totally freaked out. And it's essentially, it was 4 rounds where they would bring in 7 rocks that were in the fire, and there was 4 rounds. And so I got to the end of the second round, and I just, like, totally, like, freaked out, like, and had to, like, leave for the 3rd round. And I was out there with a couple other people, and just, like, trying to gain my composure back. And, you know, we're kind of standing around the fire, and, like, shaman saying, stay by the fire, it's your safe spot. And he, like, welcomed us back in for the 4th round. And as we're kind of walking around the fire to go back into the like, shelter hut, like, I just remember looking up, and I don't know, this was straight out of, like, a sci-fi movie, where I looked up and there was 30, like, objects in a perfectly straight line, equidistant from each other, that were moving at the same rate. And I just looked up and I was like, holy fuck. Like, what is that shit?
Like
Orbs, like, and they were, like, I don't know, like, somebody was trying to say that they were, like, SpaceX satellites, but they seemed like they were way too close in, like, relative to, like, other things in the sky, that is, like, it didn't seem like it was satellites. And then one by one they would hit this specific spot, and they just go pew, and they just disappear into, like, dust. And I was like, just remember when like the guy manning the fire was like, you guys were meant to like be out here for the third round. And like I remember going back in like for the fourth round, and I like powered my way through it, like once again just like breaking down, like freaking out a little bit, facing the dirt, just trying to breathe, and coming out of there and just realizing like I just like Clayton held my hand, and like I don't know what it was, but like I just felt his like energy, like when he held my hand, like that just like if it wasn't for that, like his energy like brought me down just enough to like so that I could like make it through. And I like built this bond with this person that like I had just met like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And just realizing that like everything is just love, and people are love, and it's like it's basically the ego that has hate, and the ego is hate. And I don't know, just like everybody there is just like I built like such strong connections with in a week, and I've built stronger relationships with some of these people in a week than I've had with like other people for years. I know, I think you kind of had a similar experience when you were down in South America, and you did a little the jungle.
Sound like the cheesiest, like the most cliched thing, but what you're saying, that when you were sort of broken to your most, basically you've been sort of like how I imagine it being. Obviously I haven't done it, but how I imagine it being is it's like the sweat stripping every layer of your identity and your sort of separateness off, and you try to hold on to it, but it's so intense that it's just like pulling that off until there's only like the true thing left. And to me, like in my experiences, it's like the only thing that, number one, that is left and that gets you through that stuff is the love, is that, yeah, the love for each other, and love for yourself, and yeah, and recognizing that you aren't any different than any fucking buddy, which is so annoying because it's like our whole entire cultural system is built off making yourself the most unique, outstanding individual that you can be in order to get the most. I have to be different, I have to be the best, I have to do this and that in order to succeed. And then you get in a situation like that, and it's like every single thing that you've sort of tried to build your identity off of is taken away.
Yeah,
it's fucking taken away from you. Which ultimately, like, that's what I feel like life is gonna do to you in one way or another. Like, you have these things that, like, oh, I'm this guy, I'm that guy, and you just keep putting your energy into those things, and oh, I'm this and that.
You're always you're always trying to like wear these different masks and these different costumes, and then when you get into a situation that kind of like you said, like strips you of all these costumes, it's just a being. You're just a being, and your being is no different than any other person's being. It's just like everything is, we're all the same. And
how you doing?
How's it going? And it's just like, I don't know, and it's weird that it's like these almost like near, I mean, I wouldn't say like these near-death experiences is what they seem like, that really strip you of all that and like make you realize like make you realize what the truth is.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know why that is, but it always seems that these like moments that just like that they're the ones that like strip you of everything, and like all that's left is just like your true self. And I don't know why it is, but
I don't know why that is actually.
But
it feels fucking good to like get back to that. It's just like when you say that, I literally just went, like it's like, it's like, because it's so, I know everything you said, but it's so easy to forget. So freaking easy to forget. And it's like, it seems to me like that's gonna happen over and over throughout life. It's just like you get caught up in these little games of identity and trying to be something, and one way or another, whether it's life or some ceremony or something, like eventually you get back to the thing, and then for a while after, it feels like not that life is easier, but there's more ease with whatever you're doing, because it's like you're not so, I don't know, you're not so worried about becoming something. You're just it already.
You're so content with who you are, what you're doing, and where you are. And I don't know, I think it was definitely weird, like reacclimating to like normalcy, or like what would be considered normalcy, like coming back from that trip.
What would be considered normalcy?
Like coming back from that trip, so and being
true.
Like, I just like went through some crazy stuff. I just did, like, I hung out with some amazing people, and I'm changed forever. And then you come back, and it's like you said, like you come back and these people like have these perceived like they expect you to be you. And they expect you, that thing that they last
Where's
saw
your
you.
mask?
Yeah. And this is
Where's
like
your Ian mask?
He was like, and you come back and like everybody's like, are you okay? Or like, you alright? Like, you seem like you've changed a little bit. And it's like,
how dare you?
It's like, I am so content and like happy with myself, with everybody, but at the same time it's amazing how, I want to say it wears off, but like how much like society like pressures you to almost like conform to like what you were, and it's like by no means will I ever forget like that. And like there's like just like recalling that story just brings me back to like that state.
Right.
But it's so easy to be sucked back into the masks, the costumes, and being this or being that, and or having this, having that as your identity, instead of like your whatever my true identity is. And I don't know, it's just crazy.
What I wonder with that though is like if that is in part just a function of, like I said, that culture, because I feel like our society asks people to be individuals and be unique. So I wonder if you were to return to a stronger sense of community, where it's not all about you being the best you can be, but you contributing to a community and bonding with a community, like if that would be different. Like to me it seems like it might be easier to hold that sense of I am love and other people are love if the focus was on just being with and strengthening your community versus just trying to get yours and get by.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's our society is making it so that we have an ego, and that's like our ego becomes our identity. And it's like I forgot where I was going with this. I had something in my head. Yeah, so, and like I don't know, you are who your ego is when you're like in a like the culture, the society that we're living in right now. And it's like in hunter-gatherer days, like I think I forget who I was reading this, who wrote about it, but when they would go for like persistent hunts, or when they would go for hunting and they would like, you know, kill game, the individual who actually shot and killed the animal would actually be like, I don't want to say shit on, but they wouldn't praise him, because they didn't want to like build his ego and like have him be like, well, I could do this without you guys, and I'm the one that brings in the food, and he would actually like, he wouldn't be the one that got praised. It was generally like they were saying like generally it was like an elder who like built the arrows, right, that was the one that was praised. And it's like that way, like no ego ever got inflated, nobody like identified as their ego, because it would destroy the community as a whole, and it would destroy the tribe.
Which that is true, because without the arrow from the old dude, without the hunting partners to track the animal with, without the food that was gathered by other people and the shelters that was built by the community, like all of that probably isn't possible. So it's like a way of keeping everybody in check that this is a team thing, and yeah, what you did was really cool, but don't get it twisted.
You couldn't have done it by yourself.
There's actually similar to that, I've also heard that there's sort of like, there's sort of this tendency in even like current hunter-gatherer cultures for humble, like real sort of humbleness in especially the males that are hunting, to sort of like, for instance, if you're that guy that gets the big buck or antelope or something like that, that when he would return to the camp, he would like tell his buddies, they're like, how was hunting? He's like, oh, you know, like bit of a struggle, like had a tough day, I got something, but you know, it's nothing crazy, but I might need a little bit of your help. And then they would go off together, and of course it was like the biggest buck of the year or whatever. But basically, like, there was this tendency, and there still is, to undershoot the actual accomplishment for the same reason you're talking about. It's like, I don't want these guys to think that I am the shit, that I can do this all by myself. I know I need their help, and if I just play it off as my accomplishment, then there can be this tendency for that tribe to kind of push them away for the exact reason that you're saying, because it's the cohesiveness that leads to success. So when you, even in today, like non-hunter-gatherer cultures, when you hear like someone like Terrence talk about fishing, and he tells you it's like, oh, it's like this tiny little fish, it's like, that's when you know it was fucking huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true.
It's just interesting to know that that's like, that has this sort of, there was a need for that humbleness trait, you know? Yeah. Like there was a need for us to keep ourselves in check.
Back then, you couldn't survive on your own. You mean, there was no grocery store, there was no somebody to go buy a car from and have a nice air-conditioned house and all that. Is like, you needed like people to forage and gather fruits, vegetables, like fungi, and then you needed your like tribesmen also for hunting, and you needed elders for like medicinal reasons, and you needed this and this, and it's like if one of those links was broken, like, or if you just like disassociated yourself from that, like you were really putting the tribe at risk, and you were most likely not going to survive on your own.
Which still exists, like, all of those dependencies still exist. It's just that we don't know the guy who grows our food. We don't know the guy that builds our house or cuts the wood for our house or anything like that. We don't see it, so therefore without knowing the person, it's very hard to maintain that sense of communal dependency.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, actually. It's like, especially in the times that we are in, like when all of the COVID things first started going down, then you go to the grocery store and you're like, wow, everything is empty. Like, I can't buy eggs, I can't buy this. And you're just like, wow, I can't believe like how much I just take for granted, like just going to the store and like,
there should be eggs here.
Yeah, it's like
in this fucking frozen box. Why are there no eggs here?
But and we've talked about before is like just since there is kind of that disconnection, is like when you eat your food, just kind of imagining the process that the food took to get to your plate, and like realizing like how many resources and like how much time and effort was put into just growing like this carrot or like this like pound of beef or whatever, like this glass of milk or anything, you know. And it's like then you kind of be like, wow, like I take that for granted, and it's like now I have such a more appreciation for what I eat. And for me too, I have a tendency to just like inhale and not do much chewing or like anything like that. It's like that definitely slows down my eating too. It's like, so now it's like, wow, I like want to appreciate this thing that just gave its life for me. Or it's like you kind of savor it a little bit more and appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, you're recognizing the preciousness of it. And I mean, even in just like the simplest meals that you might cook for that yourself, there's so many steps, like freaking bacon and eggs. That animal was raised by someone. That animal had a mother and a father animal who birthed that animal, then grass and corn and whatever fake shit they tried to stuff into that animal, slowly built this organism, developed it further and further, rain falling from the atmosphere, going into the soil, creating the crops that they feed on, microorganisms decomposing dead shit in the soil to give a better micronutrient profile to that food that's going into the animal, that's then going to go into your body. And then even just like the heat that you use to cook it, like that, you could easily overlook the fact that you have instant fire anytime you want it.
Flick of a bic.
Flick of a bic. You've got instant fire to make your food delicious and tasty.
I mean,
and you're burning, you're consuming dead dinosaurs to make fire to cook your food. And those dinosaurs also ate plants that were grown off the energy of the sun hundreds of millions of years ago.
And my mom's always done some gardening and growing some veggies and fruits in the garden, and this year we kind of like vamped it up a little bit and tried to expand and built some garden beds and all that stuff. And it's like when you eat like a snap pea or like a zucchini or anything, it's like that you've grown, like you appreciate that thing so much more, because like like the labor that went into that. It's like I spent 12 hours building, not that I had to build a garden bed or anything, but like I spent all this time building the garden bed. I spent time tilling the garden. I planted the seed, like I had to go out and weed around it, and all the time that it took and all the resources that it took, and then you finally get to pull, like after all like months of this thing growing, and you finally have like one zucchini to show for it. You're like holy shit, this thing is so awesome. And then you're just like, but I don't want to like eat it so quickly, and I don't want it just to just disappear. It's like I'm gonna savor every little piece of this, because I know how much time and energy went into it.
And not just your own too, like that's the thing, you're literally witnessing this weird magic where this green thing just somehow starts to emerge from the soil at a specific time of year. How the hell it knows when to do that or how to do that, it's beyond me.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Well, life is beautiful. Definitely need
You're
to do
beautiful.
it. You too, man.
Aren't we all just love?
That sounds so cliche and hippie or whatever you want to call it, but it's so true. Just take some time to appreciate what you got, especially at your convenience. Realize that we're all the same people. There's nothing different about us at the core. Showing love, expressing love, and showing gratitude.
It's beautiful.